Hello, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of What in the World is Going On. I'm your host, Brad Hurst. Before we get into this presentation, I want to give a shout out to hiscenter.com. They are sort of kind of sponsors and helping us get this video out to people across the country and across the world. So if you want to go check out their website, you can look down in the description of this video. There will be a link to that center. That's hiscenter.com. If you've been with us, we've been talking about a lot of things. We've been specifically talking about the person of Antichrist, or what's called in Daniel chapter 7, the little horn, or in Daniel chapter 8, the little horn who waxes exceedingly great towards the east and towards the south and towards the beautiful land. We've been talking about the king of the north in Daniel chapter 11, specifically with regard to his escapades with Egypt and his connection to places what we know as Libya and Ethiopia. That's going to be very important here in a few minutes. In addition to that, we've talked about the king of Tyre and the prince of Tyre in Ezekiel chapter 28, connected him to the man of sin. We see in the writings of, I think it's 2 Thessalonians or 1 Thessalonians, whatever that is. And then we've gone into Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. In Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 17, we learned that whoever this person is, that he was written about in the prophets even prior to Ezekiel, and that he also has a connection with Libya, Ethiopia, and also Persia. All right. Now, before we get too deep here, I just want to take us back in time and ask the question, what would the people in Ezekiel's day and Daniel's day thought of when you're talking about specifically about Libya and Ethiopia? Well, I'm going to pull up a map here. I want you to have a look at this map, and you can see how they would have understood Libya and Ethiopia back in their time. As you can see in this map that we've got up here, Libya and Ethiopia, specifically with Ethiopia, you can see that Ethiopia and Libya were simply associated with North and most of North Africa, and also parts of the southern portion of the country, or of the continent of Africa. So in this map here that you see, this map goes back to the time of Herodotus, back in 450 BC. And if you look at the African portion of this map, you can see Libya mentioned for the northern portion of Africa, and then you have the southern portion of Africa. And then off to the right, the upper right-hand corner there, you can see what they would be talking about as Egypt. And so this is the world according to Herodotus in 450 BC, which is not too far removed from the time of Ezekiel and Daniel. So you can clearly see that they would have basically recognized Libya and Ethiopia to be talking about all of Africa. All right. And so it's very important for us to know that whoever this person is, this king of the north, this little horn who waxes great towards the east, towards the south, and towards beautiful land, whoever this God person is in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, his connection with Libya and Ethiopia is essentially talking about the entire continent of Africa. Now, we've been talking about specifically about Turkey. We've been talking about certain individuals inside of Turkey. We've been talking about this man here, Erdogan. All right, I'm not coming out and saying that he's the Antichrist, but he's done a lot of work sort of kind of in that direction. And then we've also talked about this other individual here by the name of Ali Erbas, who is the head of the religious system inside of Turkey, and he's Erdogan's right-hand man, and he's gaining prominence in positions of authority inside of Turkey as well. But there's a third guy. This guy's name, you can see him right here. His name is Adnan Taneverde. And he's a close associate of Erdogan's. At one point in time, he was a general in the Turkish army, and he started an organization that was called Sadat. He was kicked out of the Turkish army because of his Islamist views. He really believes that it's his responsibility to pave the way for the Mahdi, as does Erdogan, and as does Ali Erbas. And so what Mr. Taneverde has done, sort of kind of like at the blessing of Erdogan with his company, Sadat, is he has actually started sort of kind of building an Islamic army and getting a foothold for Turkey inside of Africa. Now, if you look at this, we'll come over here to this slide over here, and you can look at Africa here, and you can see the influence that Turkey has gained inside of Africa over the last number of years, since about 2012. Prior to that, Turkey didn't have much influence inside of Africa. They did have some consulates and some embassies inside of Africa, but they didn't really have a whole lot of influence inside Africa. But now you can see they have 41 embassies inside of Africa, and then they've got 26 Turkish trade consular offices. Now, what this individual, this person by the name of Tanaverdi, has been doing is he has been setting up these trade agreements, and he's been putting together these structures for these consulates, but he's also been training an Islamic army, specifically training the local regional governments to basically work in a cooperative fashion to unite and produce this Islamic army under the guise of fighting and combating terrorism. But it's kind of ironic that there are some websites out there, and I'll link some of those below in the description, that demonstrate that this individual has been very influential in arming and training ISIS, Boko Haram, ISIS in Africa and what have you, funneling weapons to them and supplies and carrying them and facilitating them and so forth. So he's very active, and has been very involved. Now, recently, there are some questions as whether or not he's still involved, because I think that he's actually stated that he thinks he's too old and he needs to hand this off to somebody else who's a little bit younger. But we have these players that are working inside of Turkey, who are working down not only in Africa, but they're also working, as you'll see later on, towards the east into Central Asia, into Pakistan, and even further east. Now, one of the players that's in this mix is mentioned is Persia, which is currently Iran. Now, Iran is not really interested in being part of this, because they are a Shiite group, and they're kind of like the last holdout for Shiitism. And so we're going to have to see some major changes take place with Iran. Either a change of theology or some cooperation taking place, or maybe the collapse of that government over there. We will have to see what's going to take place. So, but we have this guy by the name of Tanaverdi, together with Erdogan and Abbas. They've been working diligently to form what is known as a Congress, an Islamic Confederation of states, primarily from Africa to Asia. And they want to call this Confederation of States ASRIKA, and they have a Congress that they call ASSAM. And what they have been doing is that they have been meeting since November of 2017. They've been having these Islamic Congresses meeting on an annual basis, with the process of organizing and structuring this Islamic Confederation of States, with the intent of forming an Islamic army, but not only an Islamic army, but they've got a constitution. They're putting together a common language, which is going to be Arabic. They're putting together a common banking system, a common religion. I mean, the whole thing is structured to have essentially two power bases, where you're going to have a federal headship in terms of the government structure, and then you're going to have the religious head is going to be the sort of the enforcement compliance section of all of this. And it's highly structured. I've read their constitution. It's I think it's 188 articles in their constitution, some 67 pages long. It's very detailed. You're not going to go in there and find 666 or anything like that, or taking of a mark. But it simply just goes through and structures society in such a way where everything is underneath a federal headship. They got 9 regional districts that will work independently, but everything comes underneath the federal headship, and it's going to be submitted to essentially a presidency, and also to this religious head as well. So I want to take some time here to go through a little bit of a video voiceover that I put together for you guys to kind of look at some of this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of information. There's hundreds of pages. I've read through probably more than 100 pages of stuff. looking at some of this stuff, and we'll continue to read. I'd like for you to sort of kind of take up the mantle and go to the websites of these places and look at these things up and start reading for yourself. You can see what these people have been doing. So without much further ado, I just want to get into this and go through this little voiceover for you, and then we'll come back and talk about a couple of other things, and we'll wrap this up. All right, so enjoy. Thank you.
For the past several years, the nation of Turkey has been actively engaged in a vigorous foreign policy mission in anticipation of the expiration of the Treaty of Lausanne in 2023. Upon expiration of said treaty, Turkey intends to reclaim its Ottoman greatness and expand further beyond. They have done extensive work at courting both African and Asian countries with the intent of creating an Islamic Confederation called ASRIKA. What follows has been taken from Turkish documents regarding the Congress of ASSAM, aka Justice Defenders Strategic Defense Center. SRIKA. The idea of an Islamic Confederation. Thus, after establishing the Sadat private security company, Adnan Tanraverdi is currently trying to create the ASRIKA army within the framework of the Islamic Confederation's concept. Nevertheless, we believe that the military-industrial cooperation with the countries of Islamic Union, if of course implemented, will allow Turkey to acquire new military technologies. The Confederation must also have a defense ministry with its subdivisions to face possible challenges. According to the report of ASSAM, the General Staff of the Confederation, probably located in Turkey, must give orders for the joint operations of the armies in the center of the 9 regional federations, in the fields of land, sea, air and missile defense, cyber, and electronic security. ASSAM. Justice Defenders Strategic Defense Center. Declaration of Assam Confederation of Islamic States. First Congress, November 2017. Opening Statement. We hereby state and declare that Islamic countries have to unite under one common will, and one Islamic country's parliament, which will conduct permanent activities, has to be established urgently for the welfare of the Islamic nations, the state security and survival of the states founded thereby, establishment and maintenance of peace, the rule of justice in the world, and emergence of Islamic geography as a superpower again to the stage of history. The Islamic world, which has 55.5% of the world's oil reserves, 65% of its production, 64.1% of its natural gas reserves, 40% of its production, has a geopolitical value that combines its geopolitical position, common civilizational values and historical accumulation, as well as opportunities, efforts and goals to become the superpower of the future in the geography of ASRIKA. The organizational framework began in November of 2017 with the first Congress meeting in Istanbul, with subsequent Congresses to meet each year, with the final Congress to meet in 2023. Each Congress has been set to address certain topics towards implementing the Islamic Union. Upon completion of the 7th Congress in 2023, implementation is set to begin and signal the end of the Treaty of Lausanne, which broke up the Ottoman Empire in 1923. The end of the treaty will open the door for Turkey to reclaim her Ottoman territories. But Turkey is not waiting, she is actively courting many of the former territories, and far beyond, to willingly come alongside and form the world's largest Islamic superpower that will control as much as 60% of the world's natural resources and 20% of its land mass. What follows are the list of Islamic congressional gatherings. First Congress, November 23 to 24, 2017. Establishment of the legislation of the administrative structure and organs for the Islamic Union. 2017 done. Second Congress, November 1 to 2, 2018. Establishment of economic cooperation procedures and principles for the Islamic Union. 2018 done. Third Congress, December 19 to 20, 2019. Establishment of defense industry cooperation procedures and principles for Islamic Union. 2019 done. Fourth Congress, December 20, 2020. Establishment of joint defense system procedures and principles for the Islamic Union. 2020 done. Fifth Congress, December 18 to 19, 2021. Determination of principles and procedures of joint foreign policy for the Islamic Union. 2021 done. 6th Congress. Determination of Principles and Procedures of Joint Justice System for the Islamic Union. 2022. 7th Congress. Determination of Principles and Procedures of Common Assistance and Security for the Islamic Union. 2023. Here are some of the many topics addressed in the first 5 gatherings. Constitution. Common Defense. Common Foreign Policy. Common Language, Arabic. Common Economy. Common Religion. Common Justice System. Common Education. Common Agriculture and Interior. Common Reforestation. Common Government. 9 regional governments under one head. Common Cultural Development. Common Development of Youth and Family. The list goes on. In addition to the topics addressed, it was decided that authority would be divided into 2 separate powers. The first authority will be a federal head with a parliament that is over it, a president. This parliament will have 9 regional parliaments to handle regional issues. In addition to a federal head, there will be a religious compliance head, equal in power, to bring all facets of the government into compliance with the tenets of Islam. The following is the oath of office for all government authorities. Articles 110, 120, and 128 of the Constitution. I swear upon my honor and integrity before the Great Quran to safeguard the Islamic unity, to remain loyal to Quran and Sunnahs, to ensure divine justice and its continuation in Islamic geography at the cost of my life, to remain loyal to the state president and the respective law, to abide by the Constitution, the rule of law with loyalty, not to deviate from the ideal according to which everyone is entitled to enjoy human rights and fundamental freedoms under conditions of national prosperity of Ummah and in a spirit of national solidarity and justice, and do my utmost to preserve and exalt the glory and honor of the Confederal Republic and perform without bias the functions that I have assumed. The Confederation is to be divided into 9 regional governments, based on both geographical and ethnic similarities. The following constitutional article details the regional divisions. While carrying out the studies for determining the plans, principles and procedures on justice, interior security, defense industry and common foreign policy, as the main responsibilities of the states with regards to the Confederation of Islamic countries, regional confederal Islamic republics must be formed, where the mutual wills of Islamic countries that are close to each other both geographically and ethnically, under 9 different geography. They are to be divided as follows. Middle East, 12 states. Central Asia, 8 states. Near East, 4 states. Southeast Asia, 3 states. North Africa, 6 states. East Africa, 6 states. Northwest Africa, 10 states. Southwest Africa, 8 states. Europe, 4 states. As you can see, the area of ASRIKA is quite extensive. It is a large part of the globe stretching from South America, across Africa into Asia Minor and the Middle East. It continues east into Central Asia down into Southeast Asia, finally terminating in Indonesia. The question to be asked is, will other non-Muslim nations be allowed to join? On 11/13/21, Region 2 formed, setting the stage for Ezekiel 38-39. This is the first of 9 Islamic blocks to be developed by 2023. This region alone has a youth population of 200 million. According to the January 4, 2022 issue of Memory, both Turkey and Qatar are actively forming the next bloc. Turkey, Pakistan, and Azerbaijan, having tasted a military victory against Armenia, seems to be targeting Kashmir as its next battleground. In other words, after having formed the first bloc in Central Asia, the organizers of ASSAM are moving on to the next bloc. I realize that for many people what we have presented in this short presentation is a lot for people to take in. It is particularly difficult for those who have been taught a European Antichrist and a Gog-Russia connection. We understand the difficulty. However, there is nothing like what we see going on in the present day with the Confederacy of ASSAM and the formation of ASRIKA. All we are asking of people is to take the time to research for themselves and let the facts speak out. Please stay tuned for some final comments from our host. Thank you for your time.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Just a basic rundown of the ASSAM Congress and the formation, or the attempted formation, the early formation of the, shall we say, the Confederation of ASRIKA. You know, when the Ottoman Empire formed, there was another empire that formed alongside of it, another Islamic empire, Ottomans being Sunni, and the Safavid, or the Persian Empire, being Shia. And the Ottomans wanted to form a trans-Turkic or a pan-Turkic empire going from Turkey into Central Asia, but they were always hindered from doing so because of the Persians, and that remained the case for most of history up until just recently. A war has been fought between Azerbaijan with Turkey as an alliance, and Armenia with Russia and Iran as an alliance. And with the Turks' masterful use of drones, the Turks with Azerbaijan were able to defeat Armenia together with their Russian and their Iranian allies. And in defeating Armenia, they were able to secure a corridor through Armenia all the way to the Caspian Sea. So from Turkey and Azerbaijan through Armenia to the Caspian Sea, all the way to Kazakhstan, the Pan-Turkic Empire has actually been formed. And we have what we call the Turkic bloc, as you saw a few minutes ago, and that was established, I think it was back sometime in November. And at one point in time, it was once said that regarding Azerbaijan and Turkey, this group would be two nations, one group, but Erdogan has come along and actually stated as recently as November of 2021, that it's no longer two nations, one group. It is now 5 states, one nation. The 5 states being Turkey, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan. Now, the Russians and the Chinese are not real happy about having this new, shall we say, superpower bloc starting to form either to the Chinese west or to the Russian south. And so you saw that there was a coup that took place, or an attempted coup that took place inside of Kazakhstan. The Russians sent some 2,300 troops in there to help settle down some of the problems that were going on in Kazakhstan, but the bloc remained intact. And the Russians left about a week later, and it remains to be seen what's going to happen in that part of the world, but the bloc remained intact. In fact, shortly after that, everybody got together in that bloc and said, hey, we got to figure out a way where we don't go to the Russians for help, we work with each other. So that was something that happened just recently, and I think you're going to see more things like that taking place. You clearly see in the South, as we demonstrated, that Africa, what was known at the time of Ezekiel's prophecies, Libya and Ethiopia, the African continent, are clearly coming under influence of Turkey, with the trade agreements, with the diplomatic missions, and its training of armies with the intent of forming an Islamic army. So, you know, I don't want to come out and say, you know, that we're there yet, but I can certainly say that we have people working, you know, in the right direction. We have Erdogan putting together this, working together with these nations to try to form this country of ASRIKA, or this confederacy of ASRIKA, at the end of the Treaty of Lausanne, which actually divided up the the Ottoman Empire back in 1923. With the completion of that, the Turks are going to want, you know, their Ottoman territories back, but they're expanding even further that, and they want to have this thing ready to go in 2023. And as recent as last month, December of 2021, Erdogan says, we got everything on track and we're going to do this. So they're stating that. And I personally think he plans on being the president of this organization. So we'll see what happens there. But in addition to that, we've got Ali Abbas, who's being promoted and put in positions of power where he's the religious head, is going to be the enforcement mechanism of this new confederacy. And then, of course, we have the work of Senator Verdi, who has done a lot of work at training the militaries in these parts of the world and what have you. So it's there. I mean, it's 9 regional districts under a federal head, which might give us 10 horns. I don't know. Or is there going to be another regional district added? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is this is a far better fit in your 27 nation, a European Union or the UN or anything like that. There's nothing like this that's going on. All right. So we have people, if you look at this little slide right here, we got people out here looking at this silly notion of this creature being basically a Disney creature coming from a Disney cartoon called Coco, being put in a plaza in the UN, and everybody thinking this somehow or another, this has something to do with Bible prophecy. And it looks like one of the images from Daniel or from Revelation. It doesn't look a thing like it at all. In fact, it has nothing to do with Bible prophecy. Yet this thing's all the rage out there. But we have this conference, this Congress going on. We have this confederation being formed. And I'm going to guess that a lot of you have never even heard of this before. This has been going on since 2017, since November of 2017. This has started since then. All right. You know, you look at Revelation chapter 12, one thing that you see is that the dragon is lying in wait for the man-child, which means the dragon has to be in place first. That's what the prophecy tells us. The dragon has to be in place first. And I believe the dragon is actually starting to take shape. The beast is starting to take shape. So I know it's a lot for you who have this European Antichrist, this Russian Gog, Magog thing, what have you. But the fact is that this is a far better scenario. It fits a lot easier. You don't have to do a lot of gyrations to get it to work. And seems to be saying in the game of who wants to be Antichrist, you know, we got some characters that are going, you know, pick me, pick me, pick me. So let's just kind of pay attention to what's actually going on and stop listening to the prophecy quacks that are out there and what have you. You know, the Bible is supposed to be understood. It's supposed to be taught and understood by a moral people. And today with the church, you know, specifically the church leadership that struggles to even keep its pants on, you know, we're going to have to do the work ourselves. We're going to have to do what we need to do to kind of circumvent what some of these people are doing and get around it and do the dig ourselves, do the digging ourselves, I should say. All right. We need to look for ourselves, and we need to do what we can to keep our garments from getting stained so that we will be able to recognize the hour of his coming. So that's it for now. I hope that you'll find this helpful. And if you enjoy this video, please share it with others. Go to hiscenter.com, click on section in the upper left-hand section of that site, current events about prophecy. You'll see this video posted there, and you'll be able to make donations there. And we're trying to get this out through Facebook, but right now Facebook has sort of blocked us as we've been trying to get this into the areas of Central Asia and what have you. But right now we've been blocked in those areas, and we're not able to get in. So anyway, take the time to look through this and share it with others. And please leave comments down in the section below whether you like this or not, or you found this helpful. Thank you so much, and until our next time, thank you.